Make a new animation, choose the advertising template, and we'll go with the 300 by 250 for most things here. OK to that. First place to go is the timeline, and give your layers sensible names. I'm going to call it border because I'm going to place a rectangle border around it. Choose a rectangle tool, and we can draw the rectangle. Just make sure you've got a stroke color on it, and actually I don't need the fill color, so if we click on the fill color, and that'll just knock that off. So now we'll just have a stroke color. We'll see what we mean here. There we are. Stroke is the outside line. Clicking on each individual part, we don't highlight the whole rectangle, so again I've chosen the select tool just somewhere outside shape, highlight everything, and then modify, convert to a symbol, and we'll call that border. Make it a graphic, as we will with all the symbols we create here. Click OK, and in the library we have the border, and if we click on any part of it now, highlights the whole thing. OK, next layer, and create the layer, sensible name. Always give a sensible name, Tim, because I'm going to put some text on the layer, which is going to say Tim. Go to the properties, and we can change them to be whatever you want. I'm happy the way I've got it right now, so type Tim, again, select tool, and modify, convert this to a symbol called Tim, graphic. Click OK, and it's in the library beside the border. Okay, let's put it in the center of the screen now. So we choose this option here, the align tool. Make sure we've got align to stage ticked, and we'll align it in the center. So that's both vertical and horizontal. We've got it where we want. Okay, going to do some animation now. So if we go to the Tim layer, keyframe 5, just to make things simple, we'll use 5, 10, 15 and so on, so we can keep track of things. And we want to insert a keyframe at frame 5. Now what we're going to do is, back at frame 1, I want the size to be much bigger. So we go to this tool here, transform tool. Make sure you got the little chain, if it's broken, that it's connected. And I can move that to change a particular size, but I want it to be 500%. I want to click somewhere else. The height also goes to 500. There we are. And now if we move the timeline, we can see we change from 4 to 5, from very big to very small. Let's ease that by clicking somewhere between 1 and 5, and if we create a classic tween, right click and classic tween. What do we have then? Always testing. We can see there's our setup here. Hit the return key, and takes us very quickly through it. And also control test movie, either in Flash Professional or a browser, and we will then see our animation play here. If we do it that way, it's going to be repeated, and that's going to annoy your eyes very quickly. Okay, so what we want to do now on the Tim layer after frame 5 is, if we again go up to the timeline, 10, insert a keyframe, and this time we want to drag the Tim up towards the left corner. I don't see the border here because the border only exists in frame 1. So if we go to frame 10, and this time instead of inserting a keyframe, which indicates when change happens, we simply need to insert frames. And there we go, there's our border. Okay, making sure I've clicked on the keyframe, frame 10, I can now move that up and use the arrow keys to fine tune the movement. That's where I want it to be. So always moving between keyframes, keyframe 5, to keyframe 10, it suddenly moves. How do we smooth it? Yep, click somewhere in between 5 and 10, and we then want to create a classic tween. And again, testing. I've hit the return key. We can see what happens. There we go, happy with that. So, a little bit of repetition now. It's a new layer, and we're going to type burners in here. We want burners to kick in just as the TIM falls into place here. So what we're going to do is go to frame 10, and we're going to insert a keyframe there. We get a blank keyframe. Not once we put some text in it, it won't remain blank. So it's burners. Select tool. What are we going to do now? We're going to keep doing this. Let's modify, convert to symbol. We'll call it burners graphic. OK. Goes in the library. And we'll put that center of the screen. Remember how to do it? Well, we choose the tool here and center, center. There we go. Keyframe 15, we're going to, or frame 15, we're going to insert a keyframe, and it's back at keyframe 10. We want the burners to be large, so again, transform tool, and we want 500, making sure the link is solid. There we go. 15 suddenly becomes small after being large at 15. It's a classic tween that we want in between. And we will see then that it moves smoothly to become small. Keyframe 20, what we're going to do is insert a keyframe, and burners is going to go up and join the TIM. We don't see a TIM. This time we can go to the TIM layer and the border layer and right click. No change here, so it's insert frames. Now we can see where the TIM is. Clicking on the keyframe and burners, always important we click on keyframes. We can now move the burners in place and fine tune that if required. Okay, next part for you to do is to go on and do the exact same thing with Lee. Make a new layer and have it eventually, after being large, go small and join up beside the TIM Berners Lee. That's the first part of this introductory Flash animation. Done.